Listen only mode.
Hey everyone, just let me know if you can hear me by, don't know, how would you do that?
Type into the question box.
Type into the question box.
Type into the question box.
Yes, everyone can hear. Hey Sarah, hey Adele, hey Elaine, hey Emma. Awesome. Did you hear me before I was on a Skype call there? Could anyone hear that? Nah. Anyway, happy days. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to pass you over to Marie, who's going to start the webinar off, and then she's going to ask me questions and stuff. She'll tell you what to do here. Alrighty. So enjoy. Hey, Marie.
Hey Pete, how you going? Hello everybody. Now Pete, I just need to let you know I can't see the questions that people type in, so you're going to have to translate them for me.
Yep, I'm a good translator. No worries.
Cool, good stuff. I hope everyone's had a great day. I've had a cracker of a day, so I'm really looking forward to tonight's session. As we get kicked off, if you do have a burning question or something that you really want us to cover off tonight, can you please just put it in the question box? Pete will collect them and feed them to me so we can answer them. I really want everyone to get as much as they can out of tonight's session as possible. We are recording the session, so you can go back and listen to it and watch it as many times as you like. So go ahead in the next couple of minutes and just put whatever question or challenges or things that you really want to get out or know about this topic tonight, and we'll make sure we cover them off. So to get the most out of tonight, just make sure you're in a comfy spot, that you've got away from distractions. You've got some water or something nice to drink, like a cup of tea. I actually have a glass of red wine. I'm not going to lie.
So do I. I have a glass of red wine too.
We great minds think alike, Pete.
You.
So just make sure you relax and get away from distractions and really get as much out of this as you want, because we're here for you. And I just want to say a big thanks to Pete for obviously doing what he's doing to support Free to Shine charity and the young kids in Cambodia. You're a credit to everyone, Pete, and it's a pleasure to be your friend.
Thank you.
And to everyone on the call, with absolute gratitude for you being here and your support as well to this charity. So anything that we can do to help support you, let us know. So to get started tonight, we are talking about understanding masculine and feminine energy. Now, Pete and I have had a bit of a video on this, and we've had a few really good commentaries on it. So we thought it would be great to give people an opportunity to ask lots of questions and really give you some foundations and understanding about what it is when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, and how it is that you could use it in your day-to-day life. Because let's be honest, if information just sits out there in the ether and you can't use it, it's pretty useless. So a lot of things get thrown around about energy, and particularly masculine and feminine energy, but not a lot of people tell us how to actually use it on a day-to-day basis and what it means and what are the benefits of having it balanced. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Marie Eddings, and I have come to this place around energy because it's something that I've lived. I've lived a very unbalanced, unhealthy life that has caused me a lot of illness and health issues, some very destructive relationships. I suppose a period of my life where I look back now and have a lot of learning, it was very painful. And now that I understand why, I'm really passionate about sharing that with other people. So I've educated myself from here to kingdom come on this topic from some of the masters all around the world. And so I'm really happy to share my information and everything I've got with you today. So Einstein is my favorite, and as he says, energy is everything and everything is energy. So when we talk about this, we're talking about us being energetic beings. So where to start? Is a concept around that two things actually can't exist in the same place at the same time. And why am I sharing that with you? I think in today's society we get wrapped up thinking we can do everything all at once, all the time. But in reality, science backs this up. Two things cannot exist at the same place at the same time. So I can't be happy and sad in the same moment. I can't be where Pete is and be here at the same time, and neither can he be here and be there at the same time. And it's really important that we start to realize this and use this concept as we go through the foundations of masculine and feminine energy, because one of the things that we sometimes fall into a trap of is thinking that they exist together and they coexist at the same time, and they simply cannot. So if you're in your masculine energy, the person that you're with by scientific definition has to be in their feminine energy if you're connecting in a relationship. While you're in your masculine, you can also not be in your feminine. So it's really, we really need to ground that concept down that you can only actually be or do one thing at a time. And so therefore anybody you're relating with can only be one thing at a time. So I wanted to start there because this is the concept that when I first got my head around it, changed a lot of things for me, because I really did believe that I could do multiple things and I could be multiple places and try and be multiple people to the people in my life. And it's just not, it's not real. It's just impossible. So when we talk about there's a component and there's a behavioral component to energy. So when we're talking about masculine and feminine, there is the biology that our bodies respond to, what happens in our body. Then is how it behaves outside of our body. So what you see in people's behavior or what you might think is their personality. Now this girl on the screen is part of the biology that when your energy systems are not balanced, this is how we can look and feel a lot of the time. And the reason for that is when, let's just think about a woman. When a woman is overly in her masculine, she uses the energy system of her body, which is not natural. And you end up depleting your organs, such as your adrenal glands, to the point where this exhaustion gets worse and worse, and a holiday away just doesn't fix it anymore. And your body's really saying, no, you need to balance it out. If you went to a Chinese medicine doctor, they would probably tell you that you had too much kidney yang energy. We're talking about yin and yang as the same thing as masculine and feminine energy. If you, so in Eastern philosophies and medicines, they're very au fait with how energies need to be balanced in your body, because they have different qualities. So from a biological perspective, masculine energy in a female body feels very heavy and can sometimes feel quite powerful, but it's a false power. It's running off hormones that our body actually doesn't like. And when a male runs off feminine energy and not his masculine energy enough of the time, his body becomes quite apathetic and quite lazy. So not as depleted as a woman's body, but he doesn't have that get up and go. He's very much a little bit tired. I say apathetic, but he's quite tired and a little bit listless. And it's more for him that he loses direction, and we'll find out why soon. So the biological part that we really want people to have is now, at the blog that we did a couple of weeks ago, we talked about things being in a point in time and a point in history. And unfortunately, the point in time of history we are right now, we are sometimes led to believe that this level of energy and this level of vitality is really a myth. And that's because our society is actually skewed towards one quality, the masculine quality, and the feminine qualities are actually not used very often. And so as a society, we perpetuate this myth that you need to go harder and burn faster and keep moving and keep going, keep doing. And as a result, we end up being exhausted, both men and women. From a society perspective, in this time, this point in history, we're in a patriarchal time, which means that we use the masculine side of our body more than our feminine, just generally speaking. So we went back 5,000 years where it was opposite, where we're in a maternal, a matriarchal system where the feminine side of the body was actually used more. We had more artistes. The creative side of our natures were actually used to make decisions. Females were in decision-making roles, but not as we see them now. So they were revered as goddesses. And ladies, you'll like this one. The men's role in society was to build things and to service the women sexually. And that's really all they did, and which is, you know, could be quite fun for a while. Until the point where the masculine rose up and said, you know, we're a bit scared of these women knowing everything and we don't understand that. And this is how the patriarchal system came up. And so they rejected women who knew stuff. They rejected women who used their intuition. They rejected women generally. And then you saw for the next thousands of years how women were put, you know, burnt at the stake, treated less than animals, right up until our time in society and history where women are sort of getting back into a full circle. We've had some equality issues in society, but really we are, compared to a few thousand years ago, treated actually not too bad. So when we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, I'm not talking about a male and a female body, a physical body, because both the male and the female body need masculine and feminine energy, and both of them have to have it balanced in different ways. So for a man, their home ground is their masculine energy. So when they go and do masculine type things, they can do it longer, hence why they have more endurance than women. And for women, their home ground advantage from a biological perspective is in their feminine nature. And that if they do more of those things, they can do those things longer. As an example, that's why women can talk longer than men, because that's in our feminine nature. Pete, I'm not quite sure if you'd agree with that, but
yep.
That's
Nightmare.
why we can talk, and we talk
Never
a lot
shut
to
each
other. So when we talk about masculine and feminine, we can also refer it to our left brain and our right brain. So in today's society, it's probably more common or accepted language. So the left brain of our body has the masculine qualities and the right side of our brain has the feminine qualities. So if we think about our society today and how we interact, how we go to work and we use the left side of our brain, we come home and organise things and we use the left side of our brain. We might have children that we have to run around and we use the left side of our brain. So it's overworked, and it's similar to if you went to the gym and you just lifted weights in your left arm. Over a period of time, that side of your body not only would be stronger, but it would be unbalanced, and you'd start to look a bit funny. But your body would work in its optimal rate, and it's exactly the same thing inside your body. So because our society in this point in history dictates that we have more left brain activity, it's really up to us to consciously do more right brain activity. In a female's body, that right brain activity stimulates her yin or her feminine energy and helps balance back her organs. So she becomes far more feminine looking. She'll start to see the world a little bit differently. Now, from a man's perspective, even though they're in a masculine environment, if they're not used to having masculine energy, so it's coming from a feminine space, and I'll explain what this means in a minute, they too have a body reaction. So a lot of the men that I've worked with that I would say are far more comfortable in their feminine energy, their bodies, they come through with physical issues, from sexual dysfunction through to gut issues, through to skin issues, and they're all about connection. So although it comes to me about the physical, it's quite quickly uncovered that it's not about the physical at all, that they really don't have a connection to their masculine energy. And once we understand that, these symptoms quickly go away. So why is that? The masculine part of a male's body is, as I said, their home ground advantage. And if they've never been able to connect to it or don't understand what it is, their organs, their cells don't really know what to do with the testosterone when it comes up. So a lot of the times their body will start to reject it in the beginning until we give them an opportunity to practice it over and over again. And once they get used to it, then we start to bring in some connection with other people. So why am I telling you this? When we look at the masculine part of a man and the masculine part of a woman, you might think they're just the opposite of each other, but they're actually not. Although they come from the same part of our brain, etc., in a man's body, their masculine energy means something very different to the masculine energy in a female's body, even though they are fueled by the same hormones. And the main hormone is testosterone. Testosterone in a male body is really their fuel for life. And when a man has no experience or understanding of what that feels like, that can be quite frightening for them, and so they'll shut it down. If they've never ever had grown up with, very well controlled and executed masculine energy, let me say, and as they get older, they get a feeling for it, I find they get quite fearful. Whereas masculine energy in a woman's body, she confuses it as being power, and so she wants more. She becomes a bit of a junkie, and she can actually mistake it for adrenaline. They feel quite similar, but they are different. And we get a bit addicted. Females get a bit addicted to it, whereas males sometimes try and reject it. So, Pete, did you want to share any of your experiences around, masculine energy from your experience?
Yeah, so whenever I first started going to see Marie, that was probably one of the top. It wasn't the main topic. I think whenever I first caught up with you, it was to do with the relationships and stuff, and I was sort of losing my sense of self. And it was then Marie shed a bit of light on it about the masculine and feminine energy, like growing up in a family of 3 older sisters and a mum and my dad who worked away a lot and then died when I was pretty young. That left me brought up with, I suppose 4 women in my life, and I probably took on their feminine energy, but I didn't know at the time. And then whenever I went to see you, Marie, you sort of shed a bit of light on it and understanding, and then it helped me bring through my masculine.
And how does the masculine feel in your body compared to before?
It's work in progress. Like as you said, it's scary because it feels really powerful. Like nearly sometimes you feel as if you're invincible. And that's probably the scary part, because I was probably pretty much reserved and sort of passive growing up. And then I suppose embracing the masculine is a little bit, as you say, scary.
And it is scary because there is a physical reaction to it. So testosterone in a man at a level where the masculine energy is in its, its optimal state is not what we often see in our society. So if we think about, what we might term as masculine energy in a male in our society, we might think about our sports people, our rough and tough people, the guys with big muscles and the guys, a bit rah, rah, rah. And that's not really masculine energy, but that's sometimes the only version of it that we see. That's actually, a lot of the times, that is feminine energy in a man's body. So when you do dive down into some of those stereotypes, you find there's not a lot of masculinity around those men at all. It's quite an interesting exercise when you get to dig down and talk to them, because you make an assumption because of the way they've built their body that they are quite masculine, and they're not. The qualities they demonstrate are very feminine, and femininity in a man's body is very childlike. So we'll dig down into a little bit more of that in a minute. So Pete, do we have any questions there anyone wants to make sure we cover off before I keep going?
No, not at the minute.
Cool.
Everyone's pretty good.
Just feel free to put them in, guys, if you have a question or you want me to stop and explain something or chat about something a little bit more.
Oh, we've got one question from Sarah. Marie, what sort of industries do we commonly find masculine females?
Oh, most industries. So for a woman to participate, good question, Sarah, thank you, in an organised company is masculine to start with. So to actually go to work, we have to access our masculine side or our left side of our brain because it's structured. So I'm going to go through what the attributes of masculine and feminine energy are in a minute. So when you think about for a woman to participate in today's society, we naturally access our masculine. However, we don't have to access it all the time when we become conscious of it. So if I think about my experience, I've worked in the finance industry, I've worked across in the mining industry, they're very blokey, the road construction industry, healthcare, as a consultant, education. Just to participate, you're masculine. To participate in our education system is masculine. So we taught from a very young age that we use our left side of our brain to achieve. And because we're rewarded for achievement, we just actually activate that more and more and more and more. We're not really taught to activate the right side of our brain or the feminine side of our who we are to be rewarded. And because we will do more of what we get rewarded for, especially at a young age, that's how it begins. So everywhere that you would go, females would be in their masculine to some degree. I'm actually working at in a company at the moment who it has got a fantastic culture, and when an overly masculine woman comes into the company, it's very obvious because I don't have many overly masculine women, and part of the reason that is because I don't have any overly masculine men. So it's interesting, but when an overly masculine woman comes in, she stands out, and one of the reasons is because she doesn't really cope in this environment. One of the reasons we become overly masculine in the work environment, Sarah, is because we're looking to connect with a masculine man. It sounds a bit weird. And we challenge them. So it's how we get our approval and our recognition and reward from what we think are masculine men, and we seek them out in the work environment. But generally speaking, to work in a structured environment, you are already in your masculine. It just depends how much of your masculine you want to exhibit and how you want to behave, because you can definitely, and this is what I teach women, you can definitely work in an environment and stay in your feminine or exert your feminine to a point where you are far more powerful than trying to stay in your masculine. And it's that whole thing that we get where people say, women trying to compete with the men in the work environment. It's not we're competing, it's just our energies are bouncing off each other. So as I said at the beginning, two things can't exist at the same place at the same time. So when you have two masculine people coming together, that's when they clash. So by virtue, one has to move into the feminine, one has to move into the masculine for the connection to actually occur. So let's have a look at the attributes of the qualities of what masculine and feminine energy is like.
First
masculine
off,
qualities are the same as the left brain.
Sorry, Marie, there's another question here just from Emma, just while you were on the topic. Do people have a natural disposition to a particular energy, or is it an environmental thing?
That's such a juicy question. Thank you, Emma. So this is going to take us off a little bit of a track if everyone's okay with that. So how do we, I suppose, come up with this? How do we actually, as she says, predispose to it? This will, where your energy will go actually comes from the relationship that you're born into in your parents. So if you think about the fact that as a species we evolve, and every child that's born naturally has to be more evolved than the people that have given birth to it for our species to continue, that from an energetic perspective they are far more evolved. If the relationship between the parents or who are the caregivers of that child is unbalanced, the child will energetically fill the void. So if you are in a family where your mum is the more masculine one, so she's the decision maker in the house, she's the disciplinarian, she might not work, but she definitely is the ruler, she wears the pants in the family, and the father is the quiet one who maybe is seen on hold or maybe is actually absent. There is an absence of masculine energy in the family unit in that relationship, and what you find is the child will step back, and if it's generally the girl, will step into the masculine, and that's how she develops her masculine energy as her dominant energy from a young age, to try and bring balance. And it's actually it's an evolutionary thing. So if the child's energy didn't do that, the actual species would fall apart, if that makes sense, because energy keeps us connected all the time. So I'll give you my example in my life. Exactly, my mum was the very dominant one, and my dad, even though they were still married, was very soft. So his energy was not really felt. He didn't discipline us. He didn't really set any rules. He's very quiet. He's never really present. I mean, I love him to death, but he didn't contribute from an energetic perspective to the relationship with my mum, but also as the family unit, as the father. So I was the one who developed my masculine energy very young and was rewarded for it. So I was one who basically looked after the family. I would, I learned how to hammer and mow the lawns, and I did all those manly type things. Whereas my brother, he took on more of the feminine to actually compensate for my mum. So you find that that's how your energy systems get unbalanced. It's got to do with the family unit that you grow up in. So all the more reason, if you are developing relationships and want a family of your own, why it's important that your energy is balanced and that of your partner is balanced, so your children can actually grow up through a balanced relationship and develop their own qualities outside of this unbalance. Now, in our society today, it's more prevalent across Gen X's. So that's you were born 1964, I think it is, to 1980. And one of the reasons is in that era we have a higher incidence of divorce and a higher incidence of just, working mothers, absent fathers. And so the energy unbalance is just far more prevalent. And when you look in the work environment, while we have far more masculine women in the work environment than we have in the past. Does that answer your question, Emma?
Hopefully it does. And Adele's got a question here, a quick one. If, as a girl, you try to please your father, does that move you into your masculine more?
It depends what he rewarded you for. But generally speaking, yes, because he would more than likely have rewarded you for doing. So you did well, you achieved something well, you won a race, or you got an A, or you did something well. So it's an achievement-based acknowledgement. And if he gave you achievement-based acknowledgement and you were trying to get his attention or approval through that achievement-based acknowledgement, then yes, that does fuel your masculine side. So little girls need to be rewarded for just being a girl, for being girly, for being treated like a girl. Whereas little boys, they need to learn how to, break things and build things and crash and bang, and they get rewarded for doing. Then the reason that is so important is, especially for little girls, is we learn all of our trust and our love from our dads. And the boys learn all their self-esteem and how to be a man from their dads. So the father masculine figure within a family unit is the most powerful and important energy that you can have. And when a little girl doesn't have that, if it's not her dad or some other male in her life as she's growing up through her formative years, so especially between years of 0 and 7 and also 8 to 14, then she can develop that unusual relationship with herself, because she has the view that unless she's doing something or achieving something, she's not worth anything. Whereas the feminine is worth just being feminine. So its worth comes from its knowing and intuition and being and knowingness, which is ultimately female. And we don't get rewarded or acknowledged because we don't really understand it in society today. So to answer your question, yes, that is something that occurs. Any other questions, Evan?
No, that's it. And they both said thank you. So carry on. Cool.
You're welcome. So let's look at the qualities of the masculine and feminine. So the masculine qualities, we are analytical, we're protective, we're looking at security, we're very process driven, we're very much in the doing, and we're disciplined, we're single task focused, we don't like change, we like things to just go linearly, we penetrate, we control, and we think. The masculine quality of us is the giving side. So when we think about masculine, it always wants to penetrate out. Now, in its purest form, that is how the male body is created. It penetrates. That's what its job is. And its job is to give. Its job is to provide security and protection. It's a very externally focused energy. So when it's overly used in a female body, we overgive. We look too much to the external to create our reality. And for a female body, that's actually really, really challenging. But in a male's body, it actually is very nurturing for their body. When we look at the feminine qualities, so the right side of our brain, it's creative and nurturing, it's innovative, it's where we get our imagination, we can multitask, or so we think we can. We have intuition if we listen to it. It's about beingness, not doing. So it's just about being who you are, which women find a little bit challenging. It's where we can be unpredictable and it's okay. We receive and we feel very free and we feel things. So the feminine side of the body is the receiving side of who we are. And if you think about how the female body is designed, we receive. However, if we've only learnt to be in our masculine, we don't, as women, learn how to receive anything. And if a man's in his masculine, in his feminine, he doesn't learn how to give. So let's use this as an example. Why is it important? Let's think about just an atypical relationship, and maybe you've experienced this or seen somebody else in it, because I know I've experienced it, where I hear women complain, he just won't make a decision, he's bloody useless, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. It's because he's not in his masculine. He doesn't know how to give. He's actually waiting to receive. So he wants you to do everything for him because he's in his receptive mode. And because you're in your masculine, you're in your giving mode. You just keep giving to him. And because two things can't exist in the same place, one of you has to be on one side and one has to be on the other. So if you are in a relationship and you want it flipped, you do want him to take charge and you want to give more, you have to step back into your feminine first. And there's a reason for that. The female generally leads the dance around the feminine who balances what out first. And there's a reason for that. All energy has different levels of power, and in a female body, the highest power is love. And the physical form of love is obviously sex. In today's society, the highest power of the masculine is money. It wasn't like that in every society over history, but it is money. So sex generally rules money, overrides money. So the female is the one energetically who can lead the dance. So when she moves into her feminine, the man will actually move into his masculine and then go from there. So Pete, do you have any comments about that? Because I know you've been in some relationships that have not been as balanced. What's that like from a man's perspective?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to one of the attendees today about this. Yeah, before I realised any of this stuff, I was dating a girl, and she was very inner masculine. She had a very masculine dominated job that I'm only looking back on this. At the time I didn't really realise what was going on. And yeah, she didn't know when to switch that masculine off. Whenever she came home, it was just, she was a doer. Like I felt nearly emasculated being around her, because it was like everything was organised. She'd done everything like I wanted to, but I felt like nearly overridden. She controlled everything. Yeah, it was full on. It was weird, and it didn't feel right. I just felt like, even though I was in my feminine, I didn't like being in or being treated like that, and I tried to sort of, I suppose, stand up to it and stuff. And it was just sort of not put down, but it was like a challenge. There was a clash.
So what's it feel like as a man when you give, whether it's, you pour a glass of wine or you pull a chair out or you buy something? What does it feel like for you when you give as a man?
Love doing that. I love doing stuff like that. Brilliant.
Does it make you feel more powerful or less powerful?
No, more powerful.
Does it make you want to take care of your woman, or does it make you think of her as an object?
No, take care.
Because the thing about the energy system is it's finite. It's unwavering. So when you see a man in his masculine, and a true man in his masculine, and I said we don't see a lot of them today in our society en masse, because we have this imbalance going on. But when you do, it's like, from a female's perspective, you have to catch your breath. I know, I share a story. I was in the US a year or so ago, and I was in Vegas, and in this bar, and these cowboys walked in. And like, cowboys, we don't have them in Australia, but these guys are from Oklahoma, and they were at a rodeo, and they were in that, what we would typically think is a, get up, but the tight jeans, the shirt, the hats. And the bar had probably about 100 women in it, and then most of them were with their partners, because, Vegas, with a couple. And I reckon every single woman in the bar took a breath, looked at each other. We all had a knowing, a smile at each other, going, holy guacamole, that is a real man who's just walked in. And you are taken back, because it's a feeling of, it's like everything's going to be okay. It was this total feeling of everyone felt protected, because this man in his masculine was present. And when a man is in his masculine, he's 100% present to who he is and to who he's with. So if you're in the presence of a man in his masculine, it takes your breath away, because you are the object of his eye and you're the object of his attention, because he's extremely present. So when women know that, when they come across a man, you sort of get to sit back and take a breath and go, wow. And it's sort of why we look at, the people in our society like a George Clooney, that we might, even though we don't know him, we make an assumption that that's what he has. And that's why, regardless of how old he is, we still are very attracted to him. And he attracts across a multitude of, diverse women, age groups, cultures, etc. Generally, a masculine man has very angular jaws and is very strong. So that's what the feminine reacts to. Just as if you see a woman in her absolute feminine and you see men giving to her all the time and you think, what's she got? She might not be the most attractive woman in the room, but if she's in her feminine and men are falling at her feet, it's because they're reacting to her energy, and she's receiving, so they get to give, and that helps them step into their masculine. Has anyone got any questions or comments about that?
Yeah, Mary has a question. She's just asking, would I be correct in saying that single mothers exude more of the masculine quality side? And how can a single mother learn to use her feminine qualities? Good question.
That's a really, really good question, Mary. Thank you. Your assumption generally would be correct, mainly because so if you think about females generally in society, they go to work, or they have some sort of structure where they have to think, concentrate, create from a left brain perspective. They're in the masculine. When a woman comes home, she's in her masculine, because the home is the woman's domain. So she organises, she creates a home for everybody, but that's masculine. So she actually doesn't have an outlet to have her feminine be restored or created. She very much stays in her masculine. So it's a lot of times why women generally are very exhausted if they work and they come home and there's no break. Whereas a man goes to work in his masculine, but when he comes home, he's generally in his feminine. His body gets a break because the woman's in her masculine. So if you are a single partner and you're raising children and you are in your masculine, it's really important that you find a masculine role model for your children. So you are not the masculine one, because, as I said before, the most important fibre in someone's upbringing is the father masculine figure, the male figure in someone's life, because we learn all of our self-esteem, trust, love from that side. We can't learn that from a woman. So when we have a woman who's trying to do all of it, from an energetic perspective, it can only come from her feminine side. It looks masculine, but it's actually not fueled the same way. So we don't learn it the same way. So if you don't have a man in your relationship, but you have men in your life, it's really important that you allow your children to be around them and learn things from them. So if it's a boy, he might learn sport, could be a coach, could be a teacher. And if it's a girl, it could be a family member. And they need to spend time with her, allowing her to be a girl. So taking her out and letting her get dressed up and showing her it's okay to be a woman, telling her that she's attractive. I know for some people this might sound really old-fashioned. It's not about the stereotypes in our society. It's about activating the feminine energy within your body so it feels safe. So as you get older, you actually know it's okay just to be female. You don't have to be anything else. For the actual parent who is by themselves, it's really important that you find something in your life to help you nurture and stimulate your feminine qualities. They're the creative sides, your innovation, your communication. It's really important that you have other women to talk to. If you have a creative pursuit, even just things like time out for yourself. So, Feminine energy also gets re-energized by relaxing, whether it be through massage or, you know, reading a book, doing yoga, meditating. That's why the female body responds to that so well, if we allow it. So to do that, you need to turn your masculine mind off to actually feel that. But it's really important that you nurture that side of your body, because you are on full masculine alert all the time. Any other questions, Pete?
Yeah, just on the end of that, what ways can women learn to switch off from the masculine energy, you know, from work to the feminine? So
Very
say
good
they've got a
question. So the
masculine
next
role at
slide,
work. Yeah.
I'm just going to go through some of the things that happen in a masculine and some of the things that happen in how do we behave, and I'll give you some tips on how you move from one to the other. So how do you know if you're in your masculine energy? So a woman, I'm talking about a woman. Do we have any guys on the call?
Yep. James is on the call.
Hi, James. So James, I'm just going to talk for a minute about the how this looks in a woman, how it portrays as a woman. It's not that different in a man, but I need to flip the energies for you. So how does a woman know she's in a masculine energy? She'll talk a lot. She will do a lot. So she's always doing, always busy, busy, busy. She may run her own business, be a leader, but she's a decision maker in her life. And she looks at power over others as a focus. I know that's the environment that she puts herself in. The behavior that she has is she's a disciplinarian. She'll either do exercise where it's running, lifting weights, or she won't exercise at all. She's she's very extreme, so it's all or nothing sometimes. She likes contact sports, or she likes that heaviness of, because what she's doing is she loves the feeling of the testosterone and adrenaline in her body, so she activates it because she thinks it's powerful. On-off switch. She likes control, and she can sometimes go from 0 to angry quite quickly if she's really in her masculine. So she sometimes can't see the middle ground. She can become irrational or irrational. Her belief, her skills and competencies are around, you know, let's just get it done. Let's just make some decisions and move on. You can achieve anything. She's a thinker. She can rationalize anything, and she looks through life through a judgment frame. So what that means is that she judges one over the other. So you will hear in her language some quite negative words, even though she doesn't think she's negative. She'll think she's quite nurturing and quite maternal, and she is in her core. But what you see in her behaviour is she's quite judgmental, and you'll find that she is really difficult to please because nothing's ever good enough. Her beliefs are around you have to work hard, that life's a struggle or you're not successful. So she's got that real, you know, come on, we can do anything. Life happens to you, so she can play the victim quite well. You need to fight for what you want, or it's not worth it. You need to be tough, and it's very much a win-lose, right, wrong, black and white world that she looks at or believes in. If you ask her about her values, she'll say things like honesty, integrity, truth, and independence. And none of them are really values, but she believes they are, and they have a very external focus. So for her values to be met, other people have to behave honestly, with integrity and truthfully for her to like them. But she has, you know, boundaries around that people don't get. So she's quite difficult to connect with on an intimate level. And her identity is around being a survivor, independent, strong, capable, don't need anything. She doesn't believe she's got needs. And she talks a lot, or can refer a lot, or rely a lot on her job title, her role, her company. So she's very externally focused when she's in her masculine. Now, I've just got a question. Does that ring true for anybody who's on the call? Have you ever experienced any of that in your life?
Yep. Mary says, I'm so masculine.
It's okay, Mary. It happens to the best of us. So what does the feminine qualities look like? So when a female's in her feminine, she's organised and systematic, but not from I must get it done. She just naturally knows that things have a natural order and they flow. She focuses on a process rather than an outcome. So she knows if she continues to get up every morning and go for a walk, she'll be healthy. Whereas a masculine woman will be like, I've got to get to the gym and I've got to do an hour and a half and I've got to push, push, push. So the feminine energy will just look for, we just need to do simple things every day. stick to the process and everything will be in its right order. They may run a business and they may be very successful from an entrepreneurial business perspective, but it's not their identity. So when you talk to them, they will talk about themselves, and then they'll talk about their business, but they won't say, I am the, and they won't push it as a significant part of their life. They don't drive their identity through what they do, it's who they are. From a behaviour perspective, you'll find them to be quite good at collaborating and negotiating. So they're very much looking at win-win. They don't really like to look at the win-lose. They don't look at life like that. They're very compassionate, so they'll be able to see the multitudes of people's issues and challenges from a compassionate mindset. They look to give, and I'm not talking charity. They generally like to give of their time or of their wisdom or of their knowledge, and they're not looking for reward. They just generally like to give. They do feed their mind and body, so things like yoga, tai chi, music, literature, they know that feeds the feminine side of their body. A lot of that's because there's a lot of breathing involved, but it stimulates the creative side of who we are. And the thing that separates us from, people thousands of years ago, cavemen, is our ability to imagine. So if you go back to I can't say this word, the Neanderthals, I can never say that word. If you go back to those people and you look at the shape of their heads, they had a massive bulbous at the back of their head, and they learnt through experience. So although they survived for millions of years, they only created like 100 tools because they had to experience it so many times before they could change it. Whereas if you look at our species, the Homo sapien, we have a flatter, the front of our head's bigger and the back of our head's flatter. And the thing has been evolved is our frontal cortex, which is where we imagine. So it's our ability to imagine that allows us to create, that allows us to evolve. And that comes from the feminine side. So if you're in your masculine all the time and you're trying to think everything, you actually don't get very far. You're a bit like treading water, because you have to activate the imagination, visualization side of your brain, or the feminine energy, for that to come out. And that's both in a man and a female body, but that's where it comes from. So when a woman puts herself in an environment where she can actually feed her mind and body, her masculine mind turns off, this is where all our ideas come up. This is how we replenish and reflect in our body. So the skills and competencies she's had, as I said, she likes a win-win outcome. She likes results, but not at the expense of somebody else. As I said, she focuses on the process, not the outcome. She lives from an acceptance frame. And what the difference of that to a judgment frame is that she accepts things are just how they are. So it is as it is. There's no right, there's no wrong. It just is. And she's very, very strong in communication. So she'd prefer to communicate than rationalise. She'd prefer to communicate either written or verbal, and she knows that also stimulates, connection. She believes that life is a joy. So she looks for the positive sides. Life is generous and giving. Compassion is the key. That life evolves for you. She knows that you're in control of your own life and control of your own experiences, and it is what it is. If you ask her about her values, she'll talk about passion, authenticity, wisdom, fun, and compassion. And her identity is not attached to anything external. She finds vehicles for her life purpose, which might be a business, it might be her family, it might be a charity, it might be the work that she does, but that doesn't define who she is. She's very creative and create anything, and she's very centered. So when you're in the presence of someone who's in a balanced feminine energy, you feel very calm and very peaceful around them because their energy is very peaceful. Whereas when you're around a woman who's quite masculine, you can sometimes feel, you either walk away feeling a bit drained or you feel a bit up, like you've been over-energized. It's because their energy's out of balance. So if you're a woman in your masculine, Mary, and you want to move towards your feminine and experience some of these, because if you're so far in your masculine, some of these things on your list are probably going to scare the bejeebers out of you because it's so unfamiliar to you and your body. But I would start on the second list around doing things that create more breathing in your life, whether it's yoga, tai chi, meditation, and even just listening to music that makes you want to dance. So movement should be great, but not from a power pounding perspective, from a laughter, fun, lightness perspective. And that's how you start to connect back into your feminine or nourish your feminine energy. So do you have any more questions on that, Mary? Is there anything that you want to else ask?
Can I ask a question, Marie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary has no more questions. Just looking at those two lists, would I be right in saying, because I've saw lists like this before, and the masculine energy, could that also be called ego? Like, and then the feminine would be your true self? Because they're very, very similar to different lists that I've seen before and stuff that I've been
That's a
working
really
through.
good question, Pete. So the masculine energy, or the left side of your brain, left to its own devices, is where the part of fear comes up. And that's our ego side. So it's the part of our beingness that says you can't do it. So if you're very much stuck in your masculine, or say you're a man and you're in your unresourceful masculine, because they have two layers. There's a resourceful and an unresourceful part of both of these energies. So if you're a man and you're naturally masculine, but you're in the unresourceful side, so you're fueled by feminine energy, but you're a man, so it comes out as masculine. You very much, anything that's externally focused to you is run by that fear base, which is otherwise known as your ego side. When you're in your knowing side or your feminine side, that is more of a centered internal, it's an internal focus. So it's the ego sometimes will fight against that. This is a whole other topic, because you have to get rid of your ego to do this. Does that make sense? So why does the masculine side, left to its own devices, this is why we need to balance it out, go to fear? At the back of the left side of your brain, it's the part of the brain where we hold our memories of experience. And it's the left side of our brain that projects that into our present day based on whatever experiences we had in the past. So if we had a crappy relationship and then we get into a new relationship, it will project what we think a relationship is based on our past experience. But it's the right side of our brain, or the feminine, that says, no, I know better than that. If I do things differently, not all things are equal. My past doesn't equal my future. I'm in control of my life. That will balance out that situation. But if you are in your masculine, definitely that, otherwise known as your ego, because it's very externally focused and it's fear driven. And it's why in the patriarchal society we live in now, I mean, if you're just following the Australian political system at the moment, which is a joke, all those men are not in their masculine, they're in the unresourceful masculine. It's why they fight, why politics, they argue and they bully each other, because they're all externally focused. And they're trying to win by someone else losing. And that's a very unresourceful masculine trait. Fear-based, very fear-based. Whereas the feminine is actually not fear-based, it's knowing-based. And it's based in love.
And would I be right in saying, Marie, just another point from Adele, that if you're in your head a lot of the time, would that be classed as masculine and from your heart as feminine? Would that be right, or is that too generic?
Spot on. So for you to access your feminine, you generally feel it. So because the feminine energy is a feeling, you get to knowingness and you get to feel that in your body more, whereas masculine is very much in your head. So when I work with people that are, I say women who are masculine, the first thing I've got to do is get them to connect. It's like their body's disconnected, their head's disconnected from their body energetically. So you've got to get them to reconnect by doing movement that gets them to feel stuff. When I start to work with them and I ask them feeling questions, it's like I'm talking Japanese to them. They don't even connect with the word feeling. So we've got to retrain them to connect into feminine. A lot of it I do through movement, because movement's the easiest way for your body to feel and to get them to know what it feels like to live in their heart center. And that's very much feminine energy, yes.
Very cool. Good. And Elaine asked a question. You say it can't be both at the same time, but is it possible to trade depending on the circumstance? Because she thinks she can be both, and I think I know where she's coming from. It's is it knowing when to turn one on and when to turn one off? So I think is that right, Elaine? Being aware of how to turn one on and turn one off in the circumstance you're in. Indeed, yeah. So could you just talk a little bit about that, Marie?
That's an awesome question. The more you get to know both and the more you get to know you and how that works in your body, it's very much turning it on and off. So if I think about myself now, I'll give you an example. Years ago, how I ended up in this space, I was a executive director in an investment bank, very masculine. Like I wouldn't even know myself now, but I only knew how to do masculine. I've been out of the corporate world for a while. I've gone back. I'm now back doing some contracting work within some corporate, and I now know exactly how to be in the work environment in my own body, in my feminine. And of course, I'm naturally masculine to go to work, but how I turn my feminine on, and I have to tell you, I'm far more influential with far less effort. I do, I don't have to say much and I get far more done. And the people around me said, how do we influence our environment? It's because my energy is balanced. And so when people are around me now and I might speak, they actually can hear me. Whereas if was only my masculine, I really wasn't being heard because my energy was repelling people because it's what it does in a female body. But now I know how to balance it. Sometimes I have to get, pull out the shizzle and tell people that they need to pull their socks up, comes from the masculine. I have to pull that out, but I know when that comes out, I know how to put it away. So it's very much, I can't be two at the same time. So two things can't exist at the same time, but I know which one to use at which point. And a lot of it means for a woman, you say less, you do less, you be more. Now that sounds weird if you're in your masculine. The more you get to experience it and understand it, it's very, very powerful and it's very liberating. Any other questions?
No, that's good. Yeah, so I would agree. It's just all about awareness, isn't it? It's just about being aware. Like my side of the story would be I'm definitely primarily in my feminine, through just growing up and stuff. But now I've learned to whenever I need to switch on my masculine, whether I need to get stuff done, do it because I'm aware of like exactly what it is. Like seeing these two lists, I'm aware of what the masculine is, and I think that's a massive part of it.
Yeah.
So it is.
I'm interested, James. Does James have any questions, being a male on the call?
Nah, he's no questions at the minute. And another question is from Emma: is meditation a good way to balance energies? And for me, that's been the game changer in my life. Like whenever I started meditating, probably about 3 years ago, it has been the game changer in my life. I don't know what you think, Marie.
Yeah, and the reason it is, same why yoga, tai chi, meditation, the reason why they are so powerful is because they cause you to breathe deeply. And the biggest thing that your human body needs is oxygen. And we don't generally breathe very well. So we generally breathe in the upper part of our bodies and we breathe quite shallowly. So when we do things like meditation, yoga, tai chi, and why meditation compels your masculine mind to relax. So the first time you try it, you might not be able to quieten your mind down. That's your masculine mind still going on, or your ego mind still going on. The more you breathe and you breathe deeply into your body, you naturally activate your feminine energy. So the part from your diaphragm down to your hips is, by energetic standards, masculine, and from your chest up is feminine. But in our bodies, when we're given our society, we flip them around because we overly think things. We turn our feminine energy centers into masculine. We overthink. And the ones that are supposed to be masculine at our bottom, they become feminine. That's why we can do lots but not achieve a lot. We can run around in circles, or we can think a lot, but we actually don't ever, we procrastinate. It's one of the reasons. When you breathe and you breathe deeply and you breathe for a period of time, you automatically rebalance your energy centers. So your masculine ones go back down, you become centered, you feel more grounded, and the actual influx of oxygen in the breath is what activates and balances back your energy system. So breathing is really, really important.
Cool. Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap it up, Marie, but I just want to thank you for the last hour, and I want to thank everyone who was doing all the questioning. I hope you've got good value from it. And then we're going to have another one next week, Marie, is that right?
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about, move from this are the foundations of what the qualities are, and next week we're going to talk about how you then, that would relate, how do you relate it to other people. So let's bring another person into the picture, both from a business life perspective and intimate relationships.
Awesome. So if everyone maybe could just jump on the Chastity page and leave a comment and tell your friends and stuff if they want to get involved next, for the next week, that would be brilliant. And hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, I think you'll have to register again, but I'll post up another link so people can register again. And yeah, awesome. So
and if
thanks.
you have any questions in the meantime, just post them on the page and happy to answer them.
Yeah, just post them beneath the thread for the webinar, and we can answer them the next time, or we can get straight back to you from them. Cool.
Thanks, guys. It was great fun.
All right. Thanks, Marie.
Thanks, Pete.
See ya.